and keeping our distancing and giving shiur, but Baruch Hashem, step by step. I said in many shiurim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a mask on. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a mask on. Meitis ben Acharakim, he's had a mask on for 2,000 years. We think like all of a sudden we're not using. You only see there's so much of the relationship. You talk to somebody, you can't see their mouth, you can't see their expressions, you can't see whether they're smiling or not. So do you hear me? Is it okay? You hear me? Okay. But we have to realize HaKadosh Baruch Hu's been wanting to take off his mask for 2,000 years, and it's it's up to us to daven hard for it. And just like we yearn for the day soon that we could take these off and be close and connected to each other in a deep way, so to waiting for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be able to take off his mask. Okay, so you can hear me through the mask, right? You're okay? You're good. We've been discussing Muktzah the past couple of weeks. Hopefully one more on Muktzah categories, and then the next week on, so what if you have real Muktzah? Like, how do you move it? And how do you, so hopefully 2 more weeks on Muktzah, 2, maybe 3, and that's, and then we'll finish our unit on Muktzah. So we spoke about different categories of Muktzah. We spoke about Kli Shemalto L'Isser, which is probably the most common one that you don't have in front of you, but that we did already. I can make more copies of it just that you have the packet. Chesron and Kiss, we were in the middle of. Chesron and Kiss, we're in the middle of. So what is Chesron and Kiss? So that was the Muktzah, whose primary purpose is for Isser, or just some type of Muktzah that the owner would not use for anything other than its intended purpose. So a driver's license, or a passport, or a fancy pen. A regular pen is not. I remember in elementary school, I one time got one of these fancy, I thought it was fancy. I don't know if it was just a fancy, like you get it in a box and you have to like slide it under the string thing. So one of those pens that you wouldn't use for anything else. So that's Chesron Kiss. That's not Muktzah Kli Shemalto L'Isser, which again, Kli Shemalto L'Isser is the only Muktzah you can move basically. Sarkufa, Sarkukomo for most purposes. But Chesron Kiss you can't. Anything that's there, we mentioned, what if you have a fancy painting on the wall? So if you never use it, if it's never going to be moved, Chesron Kiss. A driver's license. All of a sudden, you see your driver's license, you left it there on, Friday, you want to use it to underline. If you use it to underline the whole week, then fine. But if not, so then it could be a problem. It could be a problem of Chesron Kiss, and then you can't move it. So we were in the middle of that. We spoke about merchandise. I think that's what we were up to. Merchandise that you're going to return to a store. The Ramah talks about that. That could be a Chesron Kiss because you're not planning to use it and it's not usable for you and you want to keep it separate. So that could be, that's in source number 15. I'm in the Chesron Kiss packet. Source 15. You have in mind to return it. Right? He says, Mistaver. It's like merchandise that you're going to sell, and therefore it could be Chesron Kiss in that way. Food, we said, Pesach next year. Erev Pesach Chalias b'Shabbos. So Erev Pesach that falls out on Shabbos. So the matzah, your shmura matzah that you can use for the seder could be Chesron Kiss if you have the special fancy matzahs that you want to use. Special, matzah's mitzvah. Regular matzah probably is not because you can give it to a child who's not mitzuva in the isser of not eating matzah. But anything that you wouldn't use other than its ultimate purpose, so that is Chesron Kiss. Food is never Chesron Kiss, generally. Here it's special kind of food, but generally most food is not going to be considered Chesron Kiss. But what are? So we mentioned a computer, a laptop. You come back to your room and your laptop's on your bed. Or if somebody has a fancy phone, meaning if you're the guy that doesn't throw his phone, it's usually the guys who don't even want to have like a box on their phone, like a cover. I remember I had a Talmud a number of years ago in a different yeshiva, and he kept his phone in here, no case, no screen guard. It's got to be pure, pristine phone. And he was definitely Chesron Kiss for him. That's just like most of us, throw it. So if you throw it, then it's a Kli Shemalto L'Isser. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that's just the reality. but we probably would not throw our laptops. All right, generally not. If we would, I don't know, Butler Daito, but anything fancy like that, a shaver is probably Klisha Malta Lister, not Chesron and Kiss. What other electronical things that one has? Again, it depends how you look at it. If you wouldn't use it and touch it or move it for anything other than its intended purpose, then it's Chesron and Kiss, which is a much more chamor muktzah. Good. The post can talk about notebooks and pads because you wouldn't use it other than for writing on, but you would use it to crumple up and throw it at somebody. You would use it to pick up to, like, let's say, sometimes if I'm trying to learn and I need to stand up and I have a tall stander in my study, but if I'm somewhere else, so I'll pile up whatever I could find, in order to stand up and learn. I'll take paper, to use it for that. So it's hard to say. Some posts can talk about. You have it in, what do you have it in? The last cup, the last source where Moshe talks about it, then Hilchos Muktzah, blank notebooks and pads. It's hard to assume like nowadays that would be true. We use paper for anything. We use, notebooks and pads for anything. But again, think about anything that you wouldn't use other than it for its intended purpose would be Chesron and Kiss. Okay, that's that category. So we discussed Klisha Malta Lister, Chesron and Kiss. Let's move on to the next category of Muktzah. Muktzah Machmas Gufo. Yeah.
Even for Muktzah Machmas Klisha and Kiss, don't we say that if someone puts something of yours in your way, they can't answer that spot because you can move it?
Meaning if somebody left a Chesron Kiss on your bed, somebody left it on your bed. So again, probably l'chadchilo, you would probably move it in an indirect way, as we'll talk about Tiltum Anatzad, how to do that. But generally, if it's Muktzah, you're right. People can answer things, but the Muktzah item is still Muktzah. Maybe they can't create a basis, which we'll have to talk about, but Muktzah item is still Muktzah. Okay, Muktzah Machmas Gufo. Muktzah Machmas Gufo. Items. Avi, you with me? Starting the new Muktzah now. Muktzah Machmas Gufo. Items that inherently, by their very nature, are not prepared. Remember, Muktzah means separate. That's the opposite of Muchan. So items that inherently have no purpose, meaning they're not food and they're not kalim. You think about in life, like how many categories of things are there in life, in halacha? So we'd probably say 400 is 4. How many categories of items are there? What kind of things could become tameh? What does it become tameh? 3 things. Only 3 things. 400 things. How many items could become tameh? Food, kalim, people. That's it. Food, kalim, people. Animals can't become tameh. If they die, then they are a mitameh, right? People. So that's just an example. How many categories of things? So food and kalim are inherently, they have a purpose. But if they're not food and they're not kalim and they're not a person, they're Muktzah Machmas Gufo. I don't know, rocks are the classic case of Muktzah Machmas Gufo, a functionless object when Shabbos starts. That's what Muktzah Machmas Gufo is. You see the Mishnah Berurah says in source number 1, Kol davar she'eno kli v'lo ma'achal adam v'lo ma'achal behema. It's not a utensil. It's not food for a person. It's not used food for an animal. Kegon, avanim, kanim, mos, money, eitzim, wood, chorus, afar, dirt, coal, sand. These are inherently useless on Shabbos. And therefore, they're Muktzah Machmas Gufo. Mace, a dead body. Somebody dies. You want to treat them. How do you move them? None other. The Gemara talks about this in Shabbos on Daf Lamed when David HaMelech died. Shlomo went to the Beis Medrash. How do I move him? He's in the sun. And starts smelling David HaMelech. You got to put a cookie on top of him. Okay. But Balchai, we'll get to that. Animals. Groger Simukim. We'll get to that. Raw meat in the freezer. Whoa. How do you put something in the freezer? We'll get to it. Anything that inherently has no purpose on Shabbos, a functionless item when Shabbos started, that's also going to be crucial. We'll talk about that. It's muktzah. Something cannot become unmuktzah on Shabbos. Something can become muktzah on Shabbos, but it can't be unmuktzah. If something is muktzah when Shabbos starts, that's called migu diskatzoi ben hashmashish, is katzoi l'kula yoma. But it's muktzah for the whole Shabbos. So something that is functionless when Shabbos starts, so that is muktzah machmas gufa. If something, you're going to ask me, Yonatan, but if you know it's going to become unmuktzah when Shabbos starts, no, I was wrong. But we spoke about last week. If something's in a dryer when Shabbos starts, but you know by the time Shabbos 15 minutes into Bein Hashmashos, it's going to be dry and there's no light that goes on when I open the dryer, then that's not muktzah. And you could, if something is soaking wet and you hung it up to dry, that's not muktzah because you know that's called yoshivu mitzapeh, right? You're able to expect it to become dry. But other than that, but if it's not a kli, it's not food, that's muktzah machmas kufo, and it cannot be moved. It cannot be moved, just like chesron kiss. It cannot be moved. Yeah.
Isn't like chesron kiss considered something that's not functional when Shabbos comes? Like, how do you define
Chesron kiss is not functional for a different reason. It has a beautiful purpose, just not one that you want to use on Shabbos. No, chesron gufo means inherently it has no function. Dirt, what are you going to do with dirt? What are you going to do with a rock? A beautiful picture on the wall has a function. A fancy Mila knife has a function. Oh, another one. I never got it when I was bar mitzvah. I don't know. I think it's like an Israeli thing. All my boys got like these fancy pocket knives with like scissors and knife and this and that. Like, I don't know, there's some Hebrew word like for the fancy ones. I'm like, what knives? But they go on Tiyulim and you get knives in England? No, it's like an Israeli thing. That so again, that's probably chesron kiss because they wouldn't like use it to like cut anything, but it's not muktzah gufo. It's a kli, but yeah, that's the difference. Chesron kiss is muktzah for a different reason. Yeah. So if you want to, yeah.
I think bread frying might be different stuff. It's not allowed.
So bread inherently, if it's just frozen, that's not muktzah machmas gufo. It's edible. It just has an external problem that is frozen, meaning. It's not like meat, raw meat, as we'll see, which is going to be inherently, muktzah. Yeah.
But don't we say for lechem mishkan, it's like a leftover because it makes frozen bread?
So that's a good question. For lechem mishkan, because it's not roy right then. But it's not because I wouldn't call it muktzah gufo. It's always over gufo. Okay, if you want to use them on Shabbos, let's say I want to use a rock as a door stopper. Right? I want to have it as my door. Let's say I want to take something muktzah machmas gufo. The days of the Gemara, the floors were dirt. So let's say you bring in some dirt, you want that as part of your floor. You want it to be, it was muddy. You brought in some dry dirt. So what do you have to do? So it depends. The Shulchan Aruch says it depends if you want to permanently designate it or temporarily designate it. Ironically, if you want to temporarily designate it, you have to do more because it's only going to be for one Shabbos. So if you want to temporarily designate it, you need to do a ma'isa b'guf hadavar. You have to pick up the rock. I'm using this as a door stopper. I'm using this to hold down the plastic tablecloth in my sukkah. I remember those days, you have sometimes it's flying off, so you used to take rocks from the outside and put it in the corners of the tablecloth. Sometimes by a kiddush. I remember my old shul in Woodmere, so sometimes you set up the kiddush in the backyard, so you want to make sure that things don't fly off. So what do you have? You have plastic plates and forks. That's very light. You take a rock. Just pick up a rock from the backyard? No, unless you designated it before Shabbos. Right? A rock. So again, if it's temporary, you have to do a ma'isa. If it's permanent, you permanently want to use something that's ma'isa b'gufo, you just have to think about it before Shabbos. But it's going to be done forever. That's what the Shulchan Aruch says. Shulchan Aruch in source number 3. If it's forever, where are we? Sif Chapes. Afal pi. What just happened? So therefore, that's the difference. The Shulchan Aruch has this summary. So that's examples. Classic examples of muktzah machmas gufo: dirt, rocks, money. Those are the 3 examples that are given. So money. What about playing Monopoly on Shabbos? Play money. So play money is not muktzah machmas gufo. It's a toy. So it's not a problem. There might be other issues of playing games on Shabbos that one it's kind of like Didi Mamanis. Might be other issues with that. I'm not saying it's usher, but there are other issues, let's say, that have to do with that. This is a very big issue. Again, more I would say for my kids, I do not like garinim. I don't know what the draw is, but it's like the Israeli thing. You get together with friends on a Friday night, you hang out in the backyard, you garinim, take it out, right? Like the sunflower seeds. So it's like, you're Israeli when you like do that with like one hand. And like you could just like open it and put it down. So the halacha is, the Shmir Shabbos says, if you're eating nuts on Shabbos, you should not collect the shells of the nuts in your hand. Because right after you eat the nut, those shells are Muktzah gufo. They have no purpose. So you shouldn't be holding them. You could have a plate. Put them in a garbage, put them down. But it shouldn't be in your hand. The Shmir Shabbos says, Hamavatzeach garinim. Shells or pits without any flesh on them. Al yachzikas aklipos biyad. Amanas lashlichan covers man. Don't hold them in your hand to throw them out afterwards. Ela yashlichan miyad. Ima pitzuach. You with me still? Your picture just got smaller. You're okay? Eli, you're with me? Good. Yanichan al tzalachat. Right, and therefore one shouldn't, hold on to them. Shouldn't hold on to them. If there's a type of pit, let's say you're eating a pear. Pears don't have pits. You're eating a nectarine. So the pit becomes muktzah after you finish with it. Unless it has some stuff still on it. Let's say I just don't want to eat the stuff, but it still has some stuff on it that you can like suck off. So then that's not muktzah machmas gufa yet. It still has some stuff on it. But if it's totally, all right, you got off every good to the last drop, and now you just have the pit, that's muktzah. Muktzah machmas gufa. Shells, pits, any of that. If it's on your table, you're allowed to clean off your table eventually. We'll get to that. That's called Rash al Rei. Something's dirty in the middle, you could remove it to throw it out. But if you're walking, you don't have to have it in your hand, so then one shouldn't have it in your hand. Yeah.
But didn't we say once you're holding it?
We spoke, the Magen Avraham said that by Klishim Lachto Isser.
It's not true by a map.
So that's the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon says it's only by Klishim Lachto Isser. Because this became Muktzah now. So it wasn't like Tiltal Beheter. It became Muktzah now. Yeah.
So in order to designate something permanently or done, like you need to have like Savannah for a specific rock, or can you say, I'm thinking right now, I'm going to take a rock from...
No, you need a rock. You can't just say rocks in my backyard. You should designate one. There is a suffix fascinating in the Shmir Shabbos. What happens if I throw something into the garbage, but it's inherently useful, but I have no more use for it? Let's say, I don't know, food. Let's say a half-eaten piece of chicken. Half-eaten piece of chicken. You clear the table, and a lot of times people leave food on the table, so you throw it in the garbage. Does that become Muktzah machmas gufo? L'may nafkamina, it's garbage. Nafkamina, it's probably happened to you once or twice, and it's happened to me. All of a sudden, we're clearing the table. We threw everything in the plastic tablecloth in the garbage, put it out in the garbage. All of a sudden, where's the challah tray? Did you throw out the challah tray in the plastic? Okay, so you got to start looking through the garbage. So how careful do you have to be without picking things up directly? Do they become muktzah because you threw it out? But what do you mean a dog would eat it? There's still food in there. So Shlomo Zalman has that suffix. What about a plastic plate? A plastic disposable plate. You yourself are not going to use it again, but an ani might, he can wash it off and use it. Just putting it into the garbage makes it muktzah machmas gufo. He has that suffix, right? Shlomo Zalman. Yitachin shamachol nim'as im hashlachaso la'ashpa. It becomes muktzah. The kfar ein motziin misham. You don't take it out. Maybe there's a difference between food and a kli. A kli is really inherently more usable. We just don't use it again. So again, this is a question. It's a question that if one has to do that, one should try to not move these items directly in the garbage. Yeah. Is it bower? I don't think it's bower. It's not really a mixture. Mixture means it's tough. I mean, you see the bowl right there. I wouldn't call it a mixture. And also, you're taking the good from the bad. You want the challah thing right now. So I think it fulfills all the. Right now, you want it. You're going to wash it off right now. You want it right now. Okay. Anything usher to eat is Muktzah machmas gufo. Right? Tevel, challah, truma. Truma, maybe not. And truma bizman hazeh. That's what the Shmir Shabbos says also. Or the source number 5. Divrei machal ha'asurim ba'achila. V'im einam omdim la'achilas nachri. O la'achilas behema. You're not giving it to a dog and to a guy. Truma meiser challah bizman hazeh. That is Muktzah. Let's say somebody was mafresh trumas and meisers. Right? So that is, what is not allowed to move that on Shabbos. Anything inedible. Inedible. This comes up. Raw noodles. You go into your pantry, you're looking for something. So there's certain items in the pantry. Raw flour. Nobody's going to eat raw flour. Noodles. Anything that you have to cook and make. What about eggs in the fridge? Raw eggs. Who's going to eat raw eggs? You never think. You have to move it to get to what's on it. Picking up the eggs. It could be that eggs are muktzah. Muktzah machmas gufo. So we're going to learn about moving it with your elbow. You want to put stuff in the freezer. You want to put stuff in the freezer on Shabbos, but there's raw meat. There's other stuff that's not edible. That's muktzah machmas gufo. And therefore, you can't cook it on Shabbos. So all of those would be, one should not be moving them directly. There is a big machlokas, yeah?
I thought I heard that raw eggs are okay because people like use it for
The chazan. The chazan. So again, yes, that's why I say eggs are not 100% clear because there are some people that would eat a raw egg. Most people in the world would think it's unhealthy. But again, it could be. Could be that eggs.
People eat raw pasta also. Spaghetti.
People eat raw pasta. I don't think the tradition soup pasta is really raw. That doesn't count. People use that for like croutons in their salad. But raw pasta, I don't know. There is a major machlokas. Any svaradim here? Major machlokas. The Shulchan Aruch says balls are muktzah, machmas gufo. So even if one would, not getting into the issue about playing ball on Shabbos, but let's say a ping pong ball. A ping pong ball. So the Shulchan Aruch says, source 6, Asur l'schok v'das v'yadav b'kadur. The Ramah v'yesh matirin. Why? So many poskim say, some poskim say take it literally, balls are muktzah v'sfardim. But some poskim say, in the days of old, balls weren't like balls today. Wasn't like made to be a toy. Made to be a toy, of course, is not muktzah machmas gufo. It's usable. Those days, balls were a different kind of balls. Different kind of balls. But either way, this is it's a big discussion in the poskim. I didn't give you sources on it, but that's a fascinating discussion about the difference in the realities. Yeah.
Did they say before Shabbos, like, can I designate it? Say, like, I want to play ball on Shabbos?
I would think it's no worse than rocks. It's no worse than rocks. It's hard to say that it's muktzah bizman hazeh and that there's just, they're usable. It's not was gufo. What about a button that falls off on Shabbos? All right, that comes up. It's happened to me. A button that falls off on Shabbos. So the post can say, if you're going to give the button to a child to play with. I don't think nowadays we're going to give buttons to play with. Probably the opposite. Do we think it's dangerous? Put it in their mouth. So the Shmir Shabbos says, if you're going to put it back on your shirt, then it has a purpose, and it's not muktzah machmas gufo. What? You're not allowed to fix it on Shabbos, but it has a use.
But same with the money.
It's not useless.
Same with the money. Money was as one
What?
example.
But muktzah, but money inherently has no purpose on Shabbos. A bun can be used as a toy for a child. You could also like play with it in your hands, like a tension button or something. So the Shmir Shabbos says in Surah 7, "V'kaftar atzmo kishenafal muter l'taltalo vein bo mishum muktzah avto lahachmir v'kimin shageis in a royal chol shimush." The Shmir Shabbos discusses that you can put it, you don't want to lose it, because then you're not going to be able to find it again, and you want to put it back on. But that's a discussion again. About balls. What happens if? I will get to that. Just going to continue a little more. This is a very crucial discussion, and that is, who here has a pet? Who here has a pet? Animals on Shabbos. Animals on Shabbos. So there is an isser of ishtamshus bebehema on Shabbos. Not allowed to use animals on Shabbos. Zera, going back to horses, you might rip off a branch. The Shulchan Aruch says in source 9, also l'taltal behema chayv of. Not allowed to move an animal on Shabbos. Not allowed to move an animal on Shabbos. Tosfos even says in Masechah Shabbos. Tosfos says in Masechah Shabbos, Daf Mem Hey, even a little chick that you want to use, to quiet down a child, you can't move it on Shabbos. Low plug when it comes to certain animals. The animals that they had in those days, pashtus, were livestock. Chickens and cows and goats. They don't really have pets. Is there any story in Shas about a pet? You would think that there would be if the Amoram had animals as pets. I don't know, there are stories about animals, but not like pets. Like Chini Mendoza killed the Arod, that great story? Right, there was some type of snake kind of thing that was coming out and biting people out of a hole. So Chini Mendoza went and put his foot on the Arod, and the snake, the Arod bit Chini Mendoza, and the snake died. Right, so the Gemara said, "Woe to the person who gets bitten by the Arod, and wait to the Arod that bit Chini Mendoza." Right, that's the Rav Asher Weiss points out that Chini Mendoza is all over Chazal. Not one halachic statement. Not one. It's all Agada. He's the closest thing we have to a Rebbe in Shas. He says there's that one halachic statement. It's all about, right, when he davened, if he davened well, he knew the cholah would get better. And if he didn't daven well, he knew a lot of things are Chiminin Dosa, but nothing halachic. It's fascinating. Anyway.
In the Tosfos in Kabbalah,
yeah.
talks about using a monkey. It goes to Talmud Gemara about the Chilon. There's a monkey that's used to play with.
Uh-huh. I mean, there are discussions. They talk about it in the Kedushin, how to be Kona an elephant. How to do Kinyan Hagbah on an elephant. So, so there are discussions. But if you look in the poskim, the Rishonim for sure, low plug, animals are Muktzah. Animals are Muktzah. You're not going to find it in print too much. Right? Even why? Why should it be worse than a rock? Right? Like a pet. Why should it be worse than a rock? So if you look in the poskim, they're not Mako. They're not Mako. But maybe, again, you cannot always tell based on earlier how they used to use it. Ramosha Feinstein, you don't have it in front of you, but Ramosha Feinstein writes in Chelek Hey. Here's the makar. Hey, Chaf Beis, Chaf Aleph. Hey, Chaf Beis, Chaf Aleph. Ramosha was asked, Tziporim Ktanim, little birds, Shevetzaftzafim, that make noise. Viktanim Mesachkin Imahem, Hamdino Kamuksa. Right, if you look in Tosfos, all birds are Muktzah. Says Ramosha, Kol Baalei Chaim Avalei Muktzah, Afilu Ba'osan, Shatinokas Mesachkin Bahen. Even with birds that kids play with, they're Muktzah. Ela Im Kaim, Hem Yuchadim L'Shashuim. Unless they're designated for toys, parentheses, Pei Ayin Tes Samach. Pets. Right? Unless they're pets, Ramosha's matir. Rav Asher Weiss also maybe a shmua. I've heard him and other people have heard him say that if there's a pet, he's not muktzah. Because they're no worse than rocks. We're not talking, they're not pets in those days. Pets that are meant to be, again, if there's a dog that sheds every time you touch it, that's a separate issue of those days. But if it's not a shedding, it's just you play with the dog. So then, the Torah, it wouldn't be muktzah. Yeah. Again, I'm just saying, most halachic books, you're not going to get this heter in print. When Moshe writes it, Pastor Weiss with Shmua, I have somebody researching. He didn't get back to me yet, whether it's in print anywhere. But yeah. First go, yeah.
I heard that owners of the pets are allowed to use it, but
I don't know. It's owners and not anybody else.
Wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, it wouldn't make a difference. Yeah.
One use his pet on the smack that the Rishonim didn't really have.
I would think there
is
is definitely room to be made. Definitely room to be made. Are there poskim that would answer? Yes. But there's definitely room to be made. In our day and age, yeah. A, you don't know if they answer these kinds of animals, and B, you don't know if it's a low plug, So I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, just a few more items here. Sand, dirt, and sand is muktzah. Sand on the beach. Something walk on the beach, muktzah. You're allowed to walk on muktzah machmas gufo. You're allowed to walk on the ground. You're allowed to walk on sands, because that's not directly touching it. That's called sultam and atzad, which we'll talk about. Sand in a sandbox is mutter. That's designated as a toy. Somebody has a sand, you can't add water to the sandbox. That's the lush. I think in the olden days it was more common to have like sandboxes in your backyard to play with. But again, sandbox is not muktzah. Sand on the beach is muktzah. That's what the Shmir Shabbos also says towards the end. Where are we? 14. Right, sand, it depends. Sand on the beach is muktzah, and in a sandbox is not. Medicines for a healthy person have no purpose, hopefully. Trufo to Adam Habari, 15. And a healthy person is not allowed to take medicine on Shabbos. Right, so this is the Rabbanan. We discussed that earlier. I'm sorry. Harei Muktzah. Achim hayacholim ibod mutar esim betolta avshlol tzorach hashimesh b'Shabbos. So the Shmir Shabbos seems to say that if you weren't sick when Shabbos started, then they're muktzah. If you're in a gemach that gives out medicines, then obviously they're not muktzah. There are others, I think, that would say, though, that inherently it's like food for certain people. It's hard to say they're muktzah if they're inherently usable for people who need it. But again, that's a discussion, maybe l'chadchila, not to move it directly.
Which source is that?
That's 15. 15. Finally, yes.
If I need to move it to someone else, the medicine,
I would think we could do it directly. If you're moving it for somebody else, then you're like, a chol hashem basachan is allowed to take medicine. Chol hashem basachan is allowed to take medicine. The Shulchan Aruch says that kalim that break on Shabbos, you can move the pieces as long as it has a usage. If it doesn't, then if it's dangerous, you're allowed to move it also. So a kli breaks on Shabbos, you could sweep up the glass. But where does this come up sometimes? Sometimes at the worst times. Your glasses. Right? One of the screws fall out. And all of a sudden you're like one of the sides. So if the glasses are still usable, fine. But what about that other side of the glasses? So is that Muktzah Machmas Gufa? That's like the button. That's like the button. So Pashtus is, it's not because, and sometimes you see and you feel bad for the guy who has to do this, you take one of those safety pins and you put it on the side and they look a little weird, but it's like, that's what you have to do to use our glasses on Shabbos. But again, if they're totally not usable and you're planning to get something new, Shivrei Kalim or Muktzah, if they have no purpose. What about if a doorknob falls off or a faucet? So pashas, they're muktzah until they're, you could kick it to the side. Any broken kli that has no uses on Shabbos, like we said before, the buttons, you should, unless you're going to make it into a usage on Shabbos. But other than that, they're probably muktzah and you should probably not handle them directly. If it's a frame that pops out, then you probably put it back in because sometimes frames pop out and go back in. But again, other than that, it's will be mutter. Most things that seem broken but are not broken, obviously, are not Muktzah Machmas Gufa. We discussed this in other contexts as well. And that is what's called derech tashmisho, mode of usage. When the door is open, the door is a muktzah because there's a hole in the wall. It's meant to be opened and closed. When a zipper is unzipped, oh, now it's not usable. No, it's meant to be zipped and unzipped. So again, one has to, use the but in those cases, that's not called a broken kli. It's called an open kli, and that's not Muktzah Machmas Gufa. Not Muktzah Machmas Gufa. Okay. The other questions? Yeah.
Like the curtains, like for school curtains, like you can close out and it breaks every other time. Since it's
Curtains?
not, designated to stay for
No, I
24
think
hours,
it's okay. Yeah. A sitter that's used on during the week is not muktzah. It inherently is a kli or a book. Books were never included. What about your Haggadah Shel Pesach? The rest of the year. Doesn't matter. You can learn Haggadah Shel Pesach on Yom Kippur. Right? It doesn't matter. What if there's a sefer that I will never quote from? Whatever. It's still a sefer. English books. What about the Wall Street Journal on Shabbos? What about business weeklies? So again, things that don't have a purpose, that maybe those would be muktzah. Anything that inherently, again, doesn't have a purpose. Because it would be us. That might be Muktzah Machmas Isser, which we didn't talk about yet. We spoke about Klisha Malachtal Isser. But there's also Muktzah Machmas Isser. The only way you could use it is by violating an Isser. So that also could be, might be a different category. Okay, so we still have, I guess we didn't get through it yet. We still have the other categories in front of you. We have Nolad and what else? Muktzah Machnas Mitzvah. And then we get into how to move Muktzah. Tiltul Min Atzad and a Graf Shel Rei and then Basis. Those will be the topics that you don't have. But hopefully we'll be able to do this live also next Monday as well. Okay? Shkoyach. Shkoyach, guys. Great to learn with you.
Thank you very much.